So President Trump's been confident for the most part that the U.S. is close to a peace deal with Iran, but will that change now that Tehran apparently has ground traffic back to a halt in the Strait of Hormuz? And remember, the two-week Iran ceasefire is due to end on Tuesday. Let's bring in on Dan Hoffman, former CIA station chief in Middle Eastern war zones, also a Fox News contributor. What do you suppose is behind this change of mind on the part of the Iranians? They opened the straits, now they say it's closed again. What's the reason, do you think?
I think there's a couple of things going on. I think Iran is negotiating with us, and negotiations don't always take place through diplomacy. In this case, Iran is trying to use their closure of the Strait of Hormuz as leverage to get as much as they possibly can to their benefit whenever or if those negotiations resume. I also think that they knew they were deliberately creating a sense of optimism here in the United States. We saw the reaction in the stock market. The president spoke about a deal happening fairly soon. And I think Iran deliberately pulled back with an eye towards disparaging the reputation of the President of the United States. They want to drive a wedge between the United States and our allies. They want to reduce or eliminate our ability to project power in the Middle East. And they want to inflict harm on the global economy. And that's their goal. We know from some of the testimony this week from Director of DIA, James Adams, that Iran continues to have a stockpile of ballistic missiles and drones. And they have this so-called Mosquito fleet, those fast, agile IRGC boats. So if the United States seeks to open the Strait of Hormuz by force, we're going to be in for a fight against Iran, but there may be no other option.
Do they really have the ability to close the strait? I mean, they don't have a navy. Apparently, they have put mines out there, but the U.S. has been doing some demining. Do they really have the ability to keep it closed?
Well, this is, I think, the inflection point we're at, John. Does Iran choose to negotiate after some of this saber rattling, or do they escalate? And by escalation, that would involve using their asymmetric warfare, what's left of the IRGC fleet, which is, again, the small, fast, agile boats that they could use, and they've got mines, and that may be enough to discourage tankers from seeking to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. It's going to be too risky for the personnel, and insurance rates will be high, and that may be something that Iran will be seeking to test. And the United States, I'm sure right now, is game planning how we will respond. And I'm sure that President Trump is relying on his military as well as the intelligence community to advise of Iran's plans and intentions and what sort of options we might have to induce the response we want from the Iranians. I can't emphasize enough how important intelligence collection is right now to informing the president.
Yeah. I want to read a statement that the Iranian deputy foreign minister made to the Associated Press. He says, "I can tell you that no enriched material, meaning uranium, is going to be shipped to the United States. This is a non-starter, and I can assure you that while we are ready to address any concerns that we do have, we are not going to accept things that are non-starters." This, of course, after the president said that Iran had agreed to ship its uranium, what can be found of it, to this country. It makes me wonder whether anybody's really in charge in Iran. Moshtaba Khamenei, the supposed new Ayatollah there, the son of the dead Ayatollah, hasn't been seen in public in what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah, certainly we could be looking at different voices within the Iranian regime. The foreign minister indicated perhaps that Iran might be willing to allow the United States to take that enriched uranium out of the country, roughly 1,000 pounds of it. And now you hear from the deputy foreign minister that that's not an option. It could be two different voices. It could be that Iran knows that we want it out, and they're going to drive up the price for what they want in return. We're holding $20 billion of frozen Iranian assets, and they may want that in return for giving up the uranium. The president may not want to do that. And so that's where, again, the negotiations will continue. The Iranians, in their history, haven't won a whole lot of wars, but they are very good at negotiating, and it's going to be painstaking, and I don't believe we're necessarily going to get to a result as fast as we might have thought we would have yesterday.
What about the help of the Pakistanis? They have been sort of mediating these negotiations. Can they lean on the Iranians?
Well, I think they're playing a very positive and productive role. At this point, I think they've been very helpful in terms of allowing the United States and Iran to engage with one another. The Pakistani chief of the army, Asif Munir, was in Iran. They are trying to ensure that there's enough connectivity to keep the negotiations alive. The Pakistanis have tried to deliver some confidence-building measures. We clearly need a mediator, an intermediary, and the Pakistanis are doing well at that. There's a limit, obviously, to how effective they can be. That depends on Iran, and Iran has to come to the negotiations in good faith, which they're not doing.
Yeah.
And the question for President Trump is how the United States is going to respond.
Yeah, it's hard to know, it seems, whether anybody's really running that country or whether there's a fight about who's running the country, I guess. Dan Hoffman. Dan, thanks.
All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.